She lost her appetite at lunch. Again. Scarlett looked at the salad she had prepared with such care. Fresh tomatoes from the garden, crisp lettuce, a drizzle of olive oil, and felt her stomach close up. It wasn't about the food. The food was perfect. It was about something she couldn't name, something that had been growing inside her like a silent shadow. At 76, Scarlett had everything she had always dreamed of: a paid-off house, a retirement planned for decades, reasonable health. But something was wrong. Something no one had told her about this phase of life. The money was there. The plans were working. So why did she feel like she was losing her appetite for life itself? If you've ever felt that sensation that something is wrong even when everything seems right, type me in the comments, because Scarlett's story might be more familiar than you imagine. Have you ever lost your appetite not because you were sick, but because of a worry you couldn't get out of your head? That feeling that something is consuming you from the inside? Tell us in the comments how it was, because Scarlett knew that feeling well. Scarlett's house in Portland was exactly as she had always wanted. 2 bedrooms, a small but well-kept garden, a kitchen where morning light came through the window above the sink. She had bought this house 30 years ago, when she still worked as a nurse at the local hospital. But lately, this same kitchen she had loved so much had become a strange place. She prepared meals out of habit, but rarely finished what she put on her plate. It wasn't lack of physical appetite. It was something else, as if a constant worry had settled in the place where hunger should be. 30 years of night shifts, 30 years saving every extra penny, 30 years dreaming of the day when she could wake up without rushing, drink coffee slowly, savor a meal without looking at the clock. And now she had all the time in the world, but had lost the pleasure of using it. Scarlett pushed food around her plate while her mind worked. Always working, calculating. If she spent $3,200 a month, how long would it last? What if she needed special medical care? What if inflation skyrocketed like in the 70s? Every bite she couldn't take was accompanied by a "what if?" Every abandoned meal was a reminder that something was consuming her from within. She had done everything right, contributed to her 401k since age 25, invested in conservative funds, paid off the house, never had credit card debt. Her friends always called her the responsible one in the group. But responsibility, she was discovering, had a bitter taste that took the flavor out of everything else. Sometimes, sitting at the kitchen table with a full plate and a stomach empty with anxiety, Scarlett wondered, when did I stop feeling hungry? When did I stop feeling pleasure? It wasn't depression. At least she didn't think it was. It was something more subtle, as if a part of her had shut down, as if the enjoy life button had gotten stuck in the worry position. Scarlett wasn't poor, far from it. She had more than $800,000 between retirement, investments, and the house. For many, it would be a fortune, but for her it seemed too fragile to sustain a lifetime of meals, bills, of existence. Because existing, she was discovering, cost more than just money. It cost peace of mind, and that was a bill she didn't know how to pay. Scarlett's mornings followed a ritual: coffee at 6:30, which she drank halfway, toast at 7, which she let get cold on the plate, investment check at 8, which left her stomach churning for the rest of the day. And then the day stretched before her like an empty field, punctuated by meals she prepared but couldn't finish. Scarlett had worked for 50 years with clear purpose, defined schedules, people depending on her. As a nurse, she saved lives. Literally. Her hands had comforted hundreds of families. Her knowledge had made the difference between life and death. And now she prepared sandwiches that went untouched and worried about bills she didn't even need to pay. But there was something else eating away at Scarlett from the inside. Something she rarely admitted, even to herself. The kitchen table where she couldn't finish her meals was the same table where, years ago, she served breakfast to Michael and Sarah. Michael, now 45, lived in Seattle with his family. Sarah, 42, was in Denver, building her career as a lawyer. Both successful, both busy, both distant. It wasn't their fault. Scarlett knew that. She had raised independent, capable children who built their own lives. It was exactly what she wanted when they were small. But no one had told her that success in raising children sometimes looks a lot like loneliness. Michael called once a month, always rushing, always between one meeting and another. "How are you, Mom? Everything okay?" "Great, great. Listen, I have to run, but I'll call you next week." Sarah was more attentive, called every 2 weeks, but their conversations were functional. "Are you taking your medications? Getting your checkups? Do you need anything?" Scarlett never knew how to answer that question. Need anything? How to explain that she needed presence? Someone who would notice she had lost weight? Someone who would ask, not just if she was taking medications, but if she was managing to eat? She understood, really understood. Michael had 2 young children and a demanding job. Sarah was trying to make partner at the firm. They had their own worries, their own bills to pay, their own lives to live. But sometimes, sitting at the table with a full plate and an empty heart, Scarlett wondered, when did we become polite strangers? She remembered when they were little. Michael, always curious, asking 1,000 questions during dinner. Sarah, dramatic, telling elaborate stories about her day at school. The kitchen table was the center of the family universe. Now that same table seemed too big for just one person. Scarlett had saved so much money thinking about leaving something for her children. But what she really wanted to leave, time, conversations, memories, that she couldn't store in a bank account. Last Thanksgiving, Michael and Sarah came to visit her. It was the first time in 2 years they had all been together. Scarlett spent weeks planning the menu, buying ingredients, preparing the house. She made Michael's favorite turkey, the pumpkin pie Sarah always asked for as a child. She set the table with the good china, lit candles, prepared everything with decades of care. But during dinner, Michael was on the phone solving a work emergency. Sarah spent most of the time texting her boyfriend who had stayed in Denver. And Scarlett pushed food around her plate, feeling her stomach close with each minute of silence. After they left, Scarlett stood looking at the table full of leftovers. Food enough for a week. Food made with love, but that no one had really savored. It was that night she realized it wasn't just about money. It wasn't just about health. It was about purpose. It was about mattering to someone. It was about having someone who would notice if she didn't show up for dinner. Scarlett didn't blame her children. She had done the same thing with her own mother. She was always too busy, always running, always assuming there would be time later, always later, until there wasn't. Her mother died at 78, alone in a hospital, while Scarlett was on a night shift she couldn't trade. She arrived 2 hours too late. And now, at 76, Scarlett wondered, who will arrive too late for me? The call came on a Thursday. Dr. Martinez, her doctor for 15 years, with the results of routine tests. "Scarlett, we need to talk about your blood work. Nothing serious, but I want to do some additional tests. And, have you been losing weight?" Scarlett looked at herself. Yes, she had lost weight. Not intentionally. It just happened. Meal after abandoned meal. Appetite after lost appetite. "A little," she replied. "How much?" "I don't know. Maybe about 30 pounds in the last few months." Silence on the other end of the line. 30 pounds. Scarlett hadn't really noticed. Her clothes were looser, but she attributed that to aging. Now, talking to Dr. Martinez, she realized something more serious was happening. It wasn't just loss of appetite. It was loss of will. Will to take care of herself. Will to nourish her own body. Will to believe it was worth staying strong for the future. After hanging up the phone, Scarlett sat in the kitchen, in the same chair where she couldn't finish her meals, and for the first time in years cried. Not a dramatic cry, a silent cry of recognition. She had spent her entire life preparing for retirement financially, but no one had taught her how to prepare for the feeling that each day could be the beginning of the end, how to prepare for the loss of pleasure in simple things, how to prepare for the fear that nothing would be enough, and especially how to prepare for the loneliness of aging while the people you love most follow their own lives. That night, Scarlett did something she hadn't done in months. She called her younger sister Helen, who lived in Texas. "Helen, can I ask you a strange question?" "Sure, Scar, what is it?" Do you still feel hungry? I mean, really hungry. Pleasure in eating?" Silence on the other end of the line. "Scar, are you okay?" And Scarlett realized she wasn't. She hadn't been okay for months. They talked for 2 hours. Helen told her she had also gone through something similar in her first year of retirement. The feeling that life had lost its flavor. Literally. "It's like worry had taken the place of hunger," Helen said. "Like I was so full of anxiety that there was no room for anything else." Full of anxiety. That was the feeling Scarlett couldn't name. "And there's something else, Scar," Helen continued. "The kids. Do you miss them?" Scarlett swallowed hard. "Every day. Me too. It's strange, isn't it? We spend our whole lives preparing them to fly, and when they fly, we're left here looking at the empty nest, not knowing what to do with so much silence." Helen had put into words something Scarlett felt but couldn't express. Success as a mother sometimes looked a lot like failure, not because she had failed, but because she had done everything too right. "You know what helped me, Scar? Understanding that this wasn't about food. It was about control, about fear, about not knowing how to live when there's nothing left to achieve, no one to take care of. No one to take care of." That phrase echoed in Scarlett's mind for days. Have you ever felt that worry was literally consuming you? That anxiety had taken the place of even the most basic needs? And if you have children, have you ever wondered what it will be like when they no longer need you? Scarlett was about to discover that this feeling had a name, and more importantly, had a solution. It was Helen who suggested it. "Scar, there's something that might help you. It's not diet, it's not therapy, it's philosophy. Ancient philosophy about how to deal with what's out of our control." Scarlett laughed, but it was a humorless laugh. "Helen, I'm 76 years old and I can't even eat properly. Isn't it a little late for philosophy? Maybe it's exactly the right time." Helen sent a book by mail. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who wrote about how to deal with uncertainty, fear, lack of control. Scarlett almost didn't open it. Philosophy had always seemed like something for young people, idealists, with too much time on their hands. But on a particularly difficult morning, when she was sitting in the kitchen with a half-finished cup of coffee and a stomach closed with anxiety, she picked up the book. The first sentence she read changed something inside her. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Scarlett read it again, and again. Power over your mind, not over outside events. For 76 years, Scarlett had tried to control outside events. Save enough, plan enough, prepare enough. And when the children were small, she tried to control every aspect of their lives too. But what if the real preparation was internal? What if the hunger she had lost wasn't for food, but for life? And that hunger could be recovered. She continued reading. Marcus Aurelius wrote about fear, about uncertainty, about aging, but also about love, about relationships, about how to accept that the people we love will follow their own paths. What disturbs us are not events, but our judgments about events. Scarlett closed the book and looked at the cup of coffee in front of her. It was still warm. She took a sip, then another. For the first time in weeks, she managed to finish the coffee. It wasn't about the coffee having changed. It was about her having changed, even minimally, her relationship with the present moment. She had no control over the financial market, no control over her future health, no control over how long she would live, and especially, no control over how often Michael and Sarah called. No control over the fact that they had their own lives, their own priorities, but she had control over this moment, this cup of coffee, this breath. That day, Scarlett conducted an experiment. She prepared a simple lunch, an omelet with herbs from the garden. And before eating, she did something different. Instead of thinking about investments, bills, what-ifs, or the last time Michael had called, she focused on the omelet, on the smell of the herbs, on the texture of the eggs, on the simple good taste of homemade food. And she managed to eat. Not everything, but more than half. For the first time in months, she felt something like pleasure in a meal. That afternoon, something unusual happened. Michael called. It wasn't his usual monthly call day. "Hi, Mom. How are you?" Scarlett almost answered automatically. "Fine," as she always did. But she stopped. Marcus Aurelius had written about honesty, about authenticity. "Actually, Michael, I've been having some difficult days, but today was better." Silence on the other end of the line. Then, "Do you want to talk about it?" And they talked. Really talked. For 40 minutes. Michael told her about his own anxieties at work, about how he sometimes felt overwhelmed. Scarlett spoke about loneliness, about loss of appetite, about how she was learning to deal with uncertainties. "Mom, I didn't know you were going through this." "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because I didn't want to be a burden." "Mom, you would never be a burden. You're my mother." After they hung up, Scarlett realized something important. She had spent so much time trying to protect her children from her worries that she had forgotten they were also adults capable of offering support. Marcus Aurelius had written about this too, about how sometimes our attempt to control how others see us prevents us from receiving the love they want to give. The change in Scarlett wasn't dramatic. It wasn't like in movies where a person has a revelation and everything transforms overnight. It was gradual, like a plant growing, like appetite returning, one bite at a time. She still checked her investments, but not before meals. She had learned that anxiety and digestion don't mix. Marcus Aurelius had written about this too, about how our worries affect our body in ways we don't even notice. Scarlett began to notice patterns. Every time she thought about what-ifs during meals, her stomach would close. Every time she focused on the present, on taste, smell, texture, she could eat a little more. It wasn't about ignoring problems. It was about choosing when to think about them, and discovering that the dinner table wasn't the right place to solve the mysteries of the future. Marcus Aurelius had written, "Today I escaped anxiety," or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. The anxiety was inside her, not in the investments, not in health, not in the uncertain future, and especially not in the children's distance. It was in how she interpreted these things, and especially in when she chose to interpret them. Scarlett began a new ritual. Every morning before breakfast, she wrote 3 things she was grateful for. Not big things, simple things. "I slept well last night. The coffee smells good. Michael called yesterday and we really talked." And something interesting happened. The more she focused on what she had, the more appetite she felt to enjoy these things. A week after the conversation with Michael, Sarah called. It was a Tuesday afternoon, an unusual time for her. "Mom, Michael told me you weren't feeling well. Why didn't you tell me anything?" This time, Scarlett didn't hesitate. "Because I didn't want to worry you. You already have so much to worry about." "Mom," Sarah said, and her voice was different, softer. "You worrying alone doesn't protect us from anything. It just makes us feel distant." Distant. The word Scarlett had avoided using, even in her most honest thoughts. Sarah proposed something. "How about we start doing video calls? Once a week, all together. Not to solve problems or talk about health. Just to talk, like we used to at the kitchen table when we were little." Scarlett felt something she hadn't felt in months. Anticipation. Not anxiety about the future, but genuine anticipation for something good that was coming. Marcus Aurelius had written, "Confine yourself to the present," and Scarlett was learning what that meant in practice. It meant eating when she was eating. It meant savoring when she was savoring. It meant nourishing the body she had today, instead of worrying about the body she might have tomorrow. And it meant accepting her children's love in the way they could offer it, instead of lamenting the way she wished it could be. 3 weeks after starting to read Marcus Aurelius, Scarlett did something she hadn't done in months. She cooked an elaborate meal, lasagna, her favorite recipe, and she didn't just cook, she ate, with pleasure, with gratitude, with the understanding that this moment, this dish, this flavor, this satisfaction, was real. It was hers. It was enough. In the first family video call, Scarlett was nervous. Would it be strange? Forced? Would they have things to talk about? But when the screens connected and she saw Michael and Sarah's faces, something magical happened. They laughed. They told stories. Michael showed the drawings his children had made. Sarah talked about an interesting case at work. And Scarlett just listened. Really listened. Without worrying about what to say next, without calculating how long it had been since the last call, just present, just grateful for that moment of connection. After the call, she had dinner with appetite for the first time in months. 3 months after starting to read Marcus Aurelius, Scarlett received another call from Dr. Martinez. The additional tests had come back normal, and she had regained 15 of the 30 pounds lost. "Scarlett, what did you change? You seem different." She thought about the question. What had changed? "I learned to be hungry again," she replied. "Not just for food, for life, for connection." She still had fear. That hadn't disappeared, but the fear had changed in nature. Before, it was a fear that literally consumed her, that took away her appetite, her energy, her will to take care of herself. Now it was just fear, a normal human emotion in the face of uncertainty, an emotion she could feel without letting it control when and how she fed herself. Marcus Aurelius had written, "You can rid yourself of many useless things among those that disturb you, for they exist entirely in your imagination." Scarlett realized that many of her fears were about scenarios that existed only in her imagination, detailed scenarios of catastrophes that might never happen. And while she fed these imaginary scenarios, she was failing to feed her real body. But she also realized something about her children. She had created a narrative of abandonment that didn't correspond to reality. Michael and Sarah hadn't abandoned her. They had grown up, exactly as she had taught them to do. This didn't mean being irresponsible. She still had her financial plans, still had medical checkups, was still careful with expenses. But there was a fundamental difference. She was no longer living as if catastrophe were inevitable. She was living as if life, this life today, were possible. One afternoon, Scarlett was in the kitchen preparing a carrot cake, something she hadn't done in years. And she realized something profound. She was cooking for the pleasure of cooking, for the good smell in the house, for the satisfaction of creating something with her own hands. And also because she knew that in the next video call, she could show the cake to Michael and Sarah. She could share this small moment of joy with them, even at a distance. Marcus Aurelius had planted ideas almost 2,000 years ago, ideas that reached her on a difficult morning in Portland when she most needed to recover hunger, not just for food, but for existing. And maybe, Scarlett thought, she was also planting something. In the weekly video calls, in the more honest conversations, in the way she was learning to receive love without trying to control it. Maybe she was planting seeds of a new way of being a mother who could be vulnerable, a mother who could ask for help, a mother who could accept that adult children's love was different from the love they had as children, but no less real. Today, Scarlett still wakes up early, but now from anticipation, not anxiety. Anticipation of the breakfast she'll savor, of the garden she'll tend, of the day she'll live. And on Wednesdays, anticipation of the video call with Michael and Sarah. She still checks her investments, but not like someone checking a time bomb, like someone checking the weather. Useful information, but not determinant of her appetite. She still thinks about the future, but doesn't live in it, and especially doesn't let it consume the present. Scarlett learned something no one teaches about retirement, that true security doesn't come from having enough money. It comes from having enough appetite for the life you have, and that sometimes the life you have includes children who love you in a different way than you expected, but it's still love. Because you can have all the financial security in the world, but if you've lost the ability to feel pleasure in simple things, in a meal, in a conversation, in a moment of peace, then what do you really have? And if you spent so much time trying to be the perfect mother that you forgot to be human, how can your children love you back? Marcus Aurelius knew this. 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor faced the same fundamental human fears. What if it's not enough? What if I lose control? What if the people I love drift away from me? And he found an answer that crossed millennia. Focus on what you can control, accept what you cannot, and find pleasure in the difference. Scarlett didn't become a different person. She became a wiser version of herself, a version who understands that preparing for the future includes nourishing the present, who understands that true hunger is for life, not just survival. A version who understands that being a mother to adult children means learning a new way to love, a way that includes vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to receive care instead of just offering it. She's still 76 years old, still has $800,000, still has uncertainties about health, longevity, future costs, but now she has something more, her appetite back. Appetite for food, for experiences, for simple moments of pleasure, and especially, appetite for genuine connection with the people she loves, and the understanding that this appetite is a choice she can make every day, a choice to nourish what she has, instead of consuming herself with what she might lose, a choice to accept the imperfect love, sometimes distant, but real love of the children she raised to be independent. Last Thanksgiving, Michael and Sarah came to visit her again. This time it was different. Not because they changed drastically, but because Scarlett changed. She didn't expect them to be the children they once were. She didn't expect the kitchen table to become the center of the family universe again. Instead, she appreciated who they had become. Michael, still busy, but making a conscious effort to be present. Sarah, still focused on her career, but more open to deep conversations. And when Michael took a work call during dinner, Scarlett didn't feel her stomach close. Instead, she talked with Sarah about the book she was reading. And when Sarah checked her phone a few times, Scarlett didn't interpret it as disinterest, but as the reality of a connected adult life. She ate, she savored, she laughed. And when they left, instead of staring at the leftovers with sadness, she divided them into portions and froze them. Ready meals for the coming days. Tasty reminders of a good moment. Scarlett's story makes me think, how many of us are so focused on preparing for the future that we lose our appetite for the present? How many of us let worry literally consume our ability to enjoy life? And if you have children, how many of us create expectations about how they should love us that prevent us from receiving the love they can actually offer? Leave a reflection in the comments. When was the last time you really savored a meal? That you felt genuine pleasure in something simple? And if you have adult children, when was the last time you were vulnerable with them, instead of trying to protect them from your worries? Because maybe, as Scarlett discovered, true preparation for the future begins with nourishing the present. And true family connection begins with the courage to be human, not just strong. If this story touched you in some way, if you identified with Scarlett's loss of appetite, with her loneliness, or with her journey of recovery, leave a like on this video. It helps me know that stories like this make a difference. And subscribe to the channel for more stories about how real people find wisdom in difficult moments. Because all of us, at some point, need to remember that life happens now, and that we have the right to savor it. And that love, even imperfect, even sometimes distant, is still love. Scarlett baked a carrot cake without guarantee that there would be tomorrow to eat it, but she baked it anyway, and savored every slice. And in the next video call, she shared the recipe with Sarah, who promised to make it for her boyfriend. Maybe that's the greatest lesson. We keep cooking, we keep savoring, we keep nourishing, not for guarantees, but for faith in the beauty of the present moment. And we keep loving, even when love changes form, even when children grow up and fly. Because in the end, what remains are not the worries we carried, but the moments we savored, and the love we had the courage to receive. Until the next story.